Today's Mental Health Day, and it seems like every sort of cause and event and everything has a day that you're supposed to celebrate or think about, but mental health is one that I can actually get behind. So let's talk about stats starting off. 1 in 5 people are currently suffering from mental health issues right now, and 1 out of every 2 people will suffer from something that's related to mental health in their lifetime. In Australia, the leading cause of death for 15 to 44-year-olds is suicide. And for every person that commits suicide, another 30 people have attempted suicide. So mental health and the related issues are massive. It's a massive thing in our society. And those stats probably are underreported because if you think about it, people won't feel comfortable reporting how they're feeling because of the stigma and the other associated issues around mental health. So with that context in mind, let's talk. Personally, I've gone through a bunch of different mental health concerns and issues in my life. I had a fairly traumatic upbringing, and as a result of that, I've suffered with anxiety and depression, as well as dissociation, which is basically feelings of unreality. Now, growing up, I didn't really have anyone that I could feel like I could talk to about it because, when you open up, you sort of, unless someone's gone through it themselves, you get this sort of cliche or just sort of unknown response where they're just like trying to help you, but they don't really know what to do. They feel concerned, but they're a bit scared of it. They're worried about what you're going to do. They're not sure of anything like that. And that's the people that are willing to listen. There's always that undertone of stigma where it's like, if I share my concerns, if I share my mental state, if I say that I'm anxious, if I say that I'm depressed, people are going to judge me. People are going to think I'm not going to be able to do certain things, or they're going to maybe I'll get fired from work, or I'll be kicked out of some place, or I'll be judged, or that sort of stuff. So for me personally, it's taken me a long time to be able to feel comfortable opening up and talking about mental health and mental issues and all of that sort of stuff. I'm well beyond sort of caring about the stigma at this stage. For me personally, if you're not comfortable with me sharing where I'm at mentally and sort of promoting mental health advocacy, maybe just leave, because it's a concern that we all need to be aware of given the prevalence in our society. If you knew that 1 in 5 people were gonna suffer an amputation of the leg, could you imagine the outcry in society of what would happen if 1 in 5 people just had one leg and they were walking around and it would be visible? And one of the problems with mental health is that it can't be seen. You can't see my anxiety, you can't see my depression, you can't see anything that I'm going through. So if I present myself to you in a way that seems fine, but I'm telling you I'm anxious, the two thoughts don't really come together. But you look confident, but you seem fine, but you've done these things. It's like, yeah, but that's me trying to adapt and cope with the situation. If you're trying to, if you consider what mental health is, it's something that's impacting your brain and your functioning and how you're seeing the world and that sort of stuff, right? But you're also trying, or the person that's dealing with that concern is trying to get better. So for me, I'm not going to show the average person, or I didn't used to show how I was always feeling. So what that did was give this sort of false impression of my mental state. I was working my hardest to just conceal it and to hide it and to move on and to be functional. But the problem with that is that when I then went and said, hey, I need help, it's like, yeah, but you weren't showing any help. Are you sure you're depressed? Maybe you're just sad. And I guess that leads to these issues of underreporting, but also a lack of help because people aren't or don't feel comfortable sharing. And, we all need to sort of really get our heads around that. And days like mental health days really do help. But, it shouldn't be a day. It should be just a general knowledge that, mental health is a legitimate thing and it's okay to talk and share about it. If, like I said, if mental health was more physical, if we wore it as a physical condition, people would be able to see it and then be able to sort of have more sympathy to it. But because it's internal, because it doesn't make sense, because, well, we can do whatever they're trying to do, but we're not feeling anxious and yet they are. It's like, well, just deal with it. It's hard to develop that sympathy in society and that sort of stuff. So given that the stats that 1 in 5 people are dealing with a mental health concern right now, that suggests that you or someone close to you, maybe in your family, maybe in your friendship group, are dealing with it as we speak. So I want you to ask yourself, are you someone that projects an openness and understanding of mental health? Because if you're not, the people that are close to you might need your assistance, but they might be afraid to come to you. Given the fact that suicide is such a massive cause of death, it would be very upsetting and depressing and saddening if someone close to you was feeling, torn or bad or needed support, but because you're not open to the discussion, they didn't feel safe coming to you. I would suggest you think to yourself, do you talk openly and freely about mental health? Do you stigmatize it? Do you add to the weight of negativity about it? Do you, use derogatory terms about people with mental illness, or do you show compassion and concern? Do you offer a lending help, or do you make jokes? Look to yourself and see the sort of image that you're projecting outwardly. I've got a son, and I'm going to be open and honest with him about mental health concerns and that sort of stuff. And hopefully he doesn't, but if he has to deal with this sort of stuff himself, I want him to feel comfortable coming to me. And I want my friends to feel comfortable coming to me. Not necessarily for me to help them. I'm not a qualified psychologist. I'm not able to give them advice that they could get from a professional, but they could at least come to me for the support, for the encouragement, for the tips and tricks that I do to help myself, and for the motivation to get the therapist's help or seek guidance or that sort of stuff. So think to yourself, are you projecting the image of someone that's open and honest and, sort of cognizant of mental health concerns in society and within your close friendship group and family? If you're not, maybe consider making some changes, because, you want to be able to have the potential supports for you if you need it, but also for the ones close to you being able to come to you and get the supports if they need it. Because remember, you might not be able to see it on them. You can't. It doesn't look like an amputated leg. It might just look like normal levels of functioning until something bad happens. Because I know personally with me, I try and, or I used to at least, try to project a level of complete sanity and complete, functionality, and then I would crack. And when I cracked, I would hide away for a while until I recovered. Now I deal with it a bit better. I talk about it, I share about it, I write in a journal and share my story online, and get the help when I need to. And that sort of constant help and support, and it sort of helps to sort of relieve the pressure that builds up. So I don't really have that risk in my mind of crashing down low, but if I do, I've got supports in place. And I hope to provide that for other people. So consider that for yourself as well, please. With that in mind, I want you to consider joining my support group called How to Get Your Shit Together. This is a place we're going to ask questions, share ideas and resources, and basically help each other through the different aspects of life. And the main things we're going to look at is overcoming anxiety, defeating depression, moving on from trauma, and getting organised. Because all of those things sort of relate, and everyone will come with different life experiences, different pasts, and different resources that we can all pull together and help each other out. I also want to make this group a bit more beyond just dealing with the symptoms and the issues of mental health. I want people to help each other to find meaning in their life and then to follow their dreams. Because I know for me personally, just dealing with the symptoms of mental illness and then sort of not having a longer or a deeper goal beyond that felt rather shallow, because it's like, yeah, well, maybe I can deal with my anxiety or my depression, but what's the point? So I believe in helping each other out to get past the mental issues, but also to help each other get to our goals. What do we want to achieve? What do we want to accomplish? And, for some people, even the idea of doing something beyond themselves would be overwhelming, because they're so stuck in their mental state and they're trying to deal with the anxiety and depression and that sort of stuff. So for those people, let's talk, let's help, let's, encourage people to see the professionals. Let's give ideas and advice and, resources that help. For people that are sort of moving on from that, or that have, got a bit of a handle on it, let's talk about how we can start following goals, working out if we have goals, what the goals we want to accomplish. So I've put the links down below. Click in, sign up, and, let's help each other get our shit together. Thanks.